For today's mobility flow, we're going to start on the mat with the feet nice and wide. You'll take your time, reaching down for the floor, folding at the hips, working your way into the stretch, moving the hips around a little bit, checking in with your shoulders, your ankles, making sure the feet stay flat on the floor. From here, we will extend one arm up to the ceiling, gently pushing the floor away with the other arm. Return both hands to the floor and switch, taking your time, making sure the palm is open and you're leading up with the thumb, moving through the rib cage rather than the lower back. As you return both hands down to the center, you'll now reach over to your left foot, getting a nice deep stretch on that lateral part of the shin and the ankle, and then swing around with control, nice and easy to the other foot, searching for additional mobility through that foot, ankle, hamstring, and inner thigh. Returning the hands to the center, we'll now go into a lateral squat sit. So you'll bend one knee, sitting nice and deep into that lateral squat, keeping the other leg straight. You want to keep your foot flat on that bent leg and gently nudge the knee out. Use your hands for a little bit of balance and support, and really work your way into that hip stretch. You'll lift the hips but keep the hands down as you shift into the other side. Really investigating what that side needs, working through the ankle, making sure that the heel stays down or comes back down, just kind of noodling around. And you'll go side to side a couple of times as you teach your hip to open up and your foot to stay planted. Once we've worked through that stretch, we can now come on up, keeping the feet nice and wide. We're going to do an alternating lateral squat. So you'll sink into one hip without using the hands if you can. Come up nice and tall, squeezing the glutes at the top, and then switching to the other side. Coming down as low as you can, moving as slowly as you need to, really sinking into that hip, and then pushing that floor away to come up to stand. We'll now move on to a knee hug to a side stretch. So you're going to pull one knee up nice and tight, placing it down on the outside of the other foot, and then overhead stretch over to that same side. So if you hug your left knee up nice and high, you place it to the right and then stretch to the right. Reaching up nice and high with the arms as you give your side body a nice deep stretch. Things will get a little more complicated now. As we move down to the floor, we're going to do a side plank bridge with arm circles. So you'll get into a side plank with the arm extended and sink the hip down onto the floor. You want that top leg staggered to the front. When you're ready, you're going to push the floor away, lifting the hips up, and then creating a big circle with that free arm. As you come back down, you want to sit the hips all the way down to the floor, making sure not to sink into that shoulder, keeping that shoulder nice and strong. You lift the hips, pushing the floor away in a big arm circle. From here, we're going to settle the hips down, take that top leg and bend it, bringing the foot up a little higher, closer to your waist. And now you're going to noodle around and look for a stretch through that side body. You may need to lean forward a little bit more or lean back a little bit more, depending on where you feel the tightness. Now you can extend that top leg and come down onto your elbow. You're going to bend the bottom leg so the knees are stacked, and we'll do a double hip extension. So pushing the floor away with the knee, lifting the hips, and lifting that top leg, keeping the shoulder really strong as you drive that elbow through the floor. From here, you can settle the hips down, rest your upper body so you're supporting your head, bend both knees up nice and high, elevate the feet, and we'll do an elevated clam. So keeping the feet hovering, you're going to extend that top knee up toward the ceiling, and you want to sort of nudge the knee forward as you're lifting it up so that the hips don't rotate back. From here, we'll go into a split down dog with a thread and a reverse bridge. So in a tall plank, kick one leg up, then thread it through, and then you're going to flip it around and reach up for the ceiling. Return to tall plank. Kick that same leg up, thread it through, reverse the bridge here, reaching up for the ceiling. You want to keep the hips nice and strong, reaching one leg up, thread that leg through, reaching over, and then reverse bridge back to plank. And now's a good time for a child's pose. Sitting back on your heels, reaching up with the arms, breathing into the stretch, and then reaching one arm over, stretching through that shoulder, and then you can switch sides. And we're ready to move on to the other side with that side plank with the bridge and arm circles. So you'll get into a long side plank, resting the hips down, arm is extended. You're going to lift the hips as you push the floor away with a big circle in that upper arm. Settle everything down without dumping into the shoulder, and then lift everything back up. Now for the side body stretch. So you'll settle the hips down, bend that top leg so the foot is up toward the waist, And you're going to keep that arm extended if you can, and you're going to work into that side body stretch, really searching for where you need it most. Now extending that top leg, coming down onto your forearm and bending the bottom knee, keeping everything stacked. You're going to lift the hips, reach that top leg up toward the ceiling, keeping the shoulder nice and strong as you push the floor away. And now settling down, resting that upper body, bending both knees, elevating the feet but keeping them together. We're on elevated clam, driving that top knee up toward the ceiling as you gently drive it forward so that the hips do not rock back. Onto our split down dog with thread and reverse bridge. So start in that tall plank, kicking your other leg up nice and high, threading it through, reaching out nice and far, and then kicking it around into a reverse bridge back to plank. Extending the leg up, threading it through, and then settling it around into a reverse bridge and back to plank. And now it's time for child's pose again, sitting back on your heels, extending the arms up nice and high, breathing into it, taking your time, reaching one arm over the other, stretching into that shoulder, and then switching sides. We'll now move into a T-spine opener in fetal position, so you'll lie on your side, knees bent up nice and high, holding that top knee down with the bottom arm. And you'll inhale and then exhale as you open up, reaching back, making sure that your rib cage is turning as much as possible and you're not just tossing your arm back. On this final one, we're just going to hold it open, take nice deep breaths right into that rib cage, trying to settle that shoulder onto the floor so both shoulders are on the floor, easing into the stretch. Bringing the top arm back to the front, nice and easy. You're going to come up onto your hands and knees, and we're going to do a lateral pigeon. So you're going to extend one arm and the opposite leg out laterally, tucking everything in the center and then extending out nice and wide. The leg goes out toward the side and the arm goes out toward the side as well. Moving on to the T-spine opener in fetal position on the other side. You're going to lie on your side, knees bent up nice and high. Bottom hand is holding the top knee down. Inhale when you're forward and exhale as you open up toward the floor, allowing that rib cage to open so that the shoulder blades work their way down toward the floor. And now you're going to open this one last time and you'll hold it there, taking nice deep breaths through the nose, exhaling through the mouth, breathing in deep into that rib cage, allowing the shoulder blades to relax and settle into the floor. Bringing the arm back to the front, nice and easy, you'll come up onto your hands and knees, and we're going into lateral pointers with the other arm and other leg, tucking the knee and the elbow in nice and tight, and then extending out to the side. So the leg goes out to the side, arm goes out to the opposite side. Nice big extension, holding everything as still as possible through the core. And to wrap things up, we're just going to go quickly into a child's pose and then kicking it up to a down dog. And then I'm going to have you shift side to side, settling into those heels, and then shifting forward into a little bit of a cobra, making sure to keep the legs nice and active, and then back into child's pose again, just to wrap it all up. Nice deep breaths. Stay here as long as you need.